Hola, hola. Welcome to Entre Tías y Amiguis, the podcast where we dive into the wild roller coaster ride of adulting. I'm your host, Adri Rodriguez, a queer Salvadorian native, a first-gen trailblazer, and licensed psychotherapist, here to share wisdom, stories, and real talk with my tías and amiguis to inspire and uplift our community. I want to remind you that while I am a licensed psychotherapist, this podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only. Now let's dive into today's conversation and explore the journey of adulting together. Grab your cafecito, get comfy, and let's get started. Hola, hola, and welcome to season 2 of Entre Tías y Amiguis. It's kind of wild to be here. The last episode of season 1 came out in February, so I want to acknowledge that I've been gone a little bit from your ear, but I'm ready to come back. And this intro episode today is to talk a little bit about that holdback that I've been experiencing. And the reality is that, uno planea and luego las cosas pasan, right? And so I recorded, and I was sharing with our guest Sofia today, that I recorded all of this literally up until the weeks when my world, and I think many of our listeners and everybody in our community, our world sort of shifted, particularly referring to the ice rage and how dysregulating that has become for many of us. And so I have been feeling this, like, I'm ready to release season 2. I'm ready to release season 2, but also acknowledging that esa plática me faltó. Like, I didn't get to talk about that with the guests that were there. And I do feel that in order to set up, the joy and the stories of resilience and el empoderamiento, the empowerment that we are going to make it somehow, some way, because our stories tell us that we will. I think there's also, for me, there was something like a need and an importance of naming. Just like, we may not be feeling like ourselves, or like the coping skills that we've used in the past are not working, or maybe there's like this feeling of stuckness, right? And all of us are experiencing this collective moment, sociopolitically very different. And I know that for me, it just kind of made me stop in my tracks with all my projects. And I wanted to acknowledge that to all of you as the community, because I've gotten you excited that season 2 is coming, and then I haven't delivered. And so this is one of those Adri meets the real world moments of vulnerability. And so in that spirit, when as a part of my recovery and my healing is I got to find some helpers when I'm feeling stuck. And as I was thinking about who do I need in my ear and in my heart to help me get unstuck, I thought of you, Sofia, inmediatamente. Because I really, over the months that we've been in community, I've gotten to really admire and appreciate your perspective. A perspective that is really balanced between, we're going to keep going, but also like, shit sucks and it's like real, right? And I think that is like really kind of where I'm at. Like, there's like a both and, where there's space for grief, there's space for sad, there's space for this, and then también yo sé que we got to keep going, right? And so this is how this episode came to be. So it might feel a little bit different, more like como Comadreo con Terapia, right? Like, it's like a little bit of just like, I needed to lean into community to get a little bit of like a pep talk, and I got it. And now I want to share with all of you. And so without further ado, I do want to make a little space for you to introduce yourself to our guests, and then to kind of begin this plática of just like, how are you really, right?
Yeah. Gracias, Adri, for inviting me to, your little home, to your baby. I know your podcast is one of your babies. So thank you for trusting me with being here in this space. Introduce myself, Sofia Mendoza. I'm a licensed clinical social worker. I'm a therapist here in Long Beach, California. I'm a mom. I'm a daughter of immigrants. I consider myself like the 1.5 first gen, right? Because I was born here, but I am a daughter of immigrants, and that has really impacted me. I'm also, a girl from the hood. I grew up in South Central LA, and I think that's really important to share here, because I feel like it's what helps make me up, right? So I won't go into the whole thing, but those are the big nuts and bolts for me here. And gosh, your next question is a big one. How am I? I'm okay. I go through lots of moments of like despair, being horrified with what's happening, feeling a lot, in a very justified way. Feeling a lot for, my clients or family members, and really just feeling a lot for all the people who are marginalized during, through this administration, the system, right? It was funny. I actually went on a run this morning. Because I am trying to prioritize, my physical health. So I'm like, man, I'm feeling all good and chingona, coming back all sweaty. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to talk to Adri later. I'm going to do this and that, and feeling good. And I kid you not, in un minuto, the tears came. Because I thought about, I saw someone on the street, and then it just kind of got me thinking.
Yeah.
And then I thought, mira qué rápido. Mira qué rápido, the roller coaster of emotions. And, I was like, it is what it is, I can feel like a badass for having, accomplished my run. And also hold in my body, really respect myself for also being in some sadness and some distress. I was almost home. And so I'm like walking home and thinking like, how am I going to show up once I come into the door?
Yeah.
When I become mom, when I got to do the laundry, todas las cosas que tengo que hacer, right? And so that's how I am. That's how I am right now. Un poquito de todo.
Yes. I mean, I'm in the same page. I think that question has been such a day by day answer. I'm good, maybe even like a minute by minute, like to your point, right? Like there are moments of just like, here I am. Like I'm doing like everything as if nothing's happening. And then the next moment I pick up my phone and it's just like Gaza, LA, immigration, another news from the administration. And it's like this like wave of emotions where not only in the sociopolitical environment, I've been experiencing a lot of just like, I've been really triggered. One of the things that surprised me through the season is my own immigration trauma, the separation of my family because of immigration, like all these things me llegó como sorpresa because this is stuff that I've been in therapy for. I healed this stuff, like the way that you think that you have kind of like conquer and accomplish like certain parts of like your trauma and your pain. And then here it is, this like therapy. ACE therapy. And then I'm like, damn it, here we are again. I thought that I had addressed that in the reality, right? That being a naturalized citizen, like we have privilege. I have privilege. I know that in proximity to some other folks in our community, there is like a sense of safety, but even like that sense of safety doesn't feel as secure as it did 4 months ago. You know, like there is something different that I think we're all carrying around, especially when you were talking about as our marginalized identities, right? According to the society that we live in. For me, being queer, being immigrante, being a naturalized citizen, being all of these things, it's like the news are touching each part of me. And then at the same time, I've had such a good summer full of joy. I've been dancing, I've been eating, I've been hanging out, right? And then I also lost a very dear friend. And so my heart is grieving. And so this roller coaster, as you said, has been a big one this past couple of months, And so here I was about to release the podcast. All of it is ready. And boom, all these things hit. And ¿qué hago, right? Because my safety mechanisms went a little bit into like freezing to protect the energy that I need in order to then show up for my clients. Because also I'm a therapist during these times. And so we're having to safeguard our energy. I feel like I'm having to safeguard my energy and be really mindful and intentional as to like, what's a must do and what is I can do? What can I push back? Because I have to show up for the people that I care about and that I love. And I need to be good in order to be able to do that, right? So this roller coaster has had to be, for me, really mindful and really intentional because I do not have capacity for all the things. And I struggle with that because usually I can do all the things. And so when I can't, the little voice in my head is like, ¿Qué te pasa, Adriana? What's happening? You're falling behind, right? And it's like, my goodness, what a season it has been.
The little capitalist in our brain, right? Yeah.
And the survivor, because like we've survived, like me, I've survived through doing, right? Like, well, how do you survive is to keep pushing. And right now it's just like, but my body's saying slow down. It's such a different response than what I'm used to, which is when there's need, you go and show up. And right now, no puedo. Me ha hecho bien difícil.
And thank you so much for sharing that, because I think it's important that we also even demystify us as helpers and what happens to me. Like I consider myself like a first responder or like a firefighter. When shit hits the fan, I voy con mis manguera, my tool, I think partially it's because pues in a way no me queda de otra. I'm also in community mental health, and it stops for no one, right? But what happens I'm also a trauma specialist. And so I've been talking to people about like, what happens in the body too, is that it's called our dorsal vagal. And it's like our nervous system's response to threat is to shut down because it's trying to conserve resources, right? It's kind of like possums. They're very good at this, right? Se quedan como like, I'm dead. and it's protective, because then animals don't want an animal that's already dead, right? And the way I talk about it too is that I don't know if are you an iPhone?
I'm an iPhone, yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm an iPhone too. So when your battery is running low, and then it's like, oh, turn on low power mode, right? It turns yellow.
Yep.
And so that's kind of our system. And because it's not that like it's conscious, it's like it's literally like your battery's running out, we're gonna hit low power mode. Yeah. So like I've been telling people, I went full on the first few weeks, and then I was still showing up, still going to her, and I was telling people, I feel like I'm on a ladder and like my feet are in dorsal. And then I'm like barely holding on, trying to climb out, because I was still showing up to work. I was no longer having lunch with my coworkers. I was eating lunch by myself. I was doing the least, right? So I'm like, that's my low power mode.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it happens, and it's normal, and it's our body's own way of saying like, we're going to shut off some apps to survive, because we only have the little bit left.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to claim I've been on possum lower battery mode then, because that's what's been going on. And it's such a different response. And I think that has been such a battle in my head of just like, but usually you're a firefighter. And like when you firefight, you feel really good. And then my body is like, but low battery right now. We're going to close the apps, only the most necessary ones. So I really appreciate that kind of visual, because if anything, makes me think that the low power battery mode is actually an upgrade. It's a software upgrade that in the iPhones didn't happen in the original iPhones. And so as your phone gets better, more high tech advanced, and maybe as our healing and our nervous system becomes more advanced, it can predict a little bit better what do you need to do to be protective ahead of time versus keep going all the way until the crash and burn. Because before, quien no terminaba en 1% all of a sudden, and then just the phone is dead. Yeah. Now you do get a little bit of like that ping. And so I'm definitely taking that with you.
Yeah. And, I think for me, it was helpful to talk about it. También with my fellow colegas, and, one of my colleagues, she mentioned it like, because, it happened, and then someone came back from vacation. They were on vacation while this whole thing was happening. They came back and they're like, hey, do you want to talk about it? And I'm like, no, I have been talking about it. I have been holding space. Like, estoy hasta acá. And then I kind of felt a little bit bad, because it was kind of a blunt response. Yeah. Right. And then my coworker jumped in and she goes, hey, just so you know, like, that's probably, a lot of people are like stuck in dorsal. And I'm like, you know what? That's where I'm at. I want to keep a lid on it right now, and that gave me permission to say like, oh, that's what's happening. Yeah. So then if you're in low power mode, girl, don't try to do the most. Yeah. Yeah, I can't. We really can't, because the body, and I think that's something that when we talked a couple of days ago, we were like, your body will also
demand and make you have this slow down, right? When it's not that conscious. And so I think like my body decided before my mind became okay with it. Like my body was just like, no, girl, we can't, like don't have energy. And you got to have energy to show up for your clients, right? Because I do have some responsibilities to show up. And, you know, I work mainly like 99% of the population I'm working with like children of immigrants, with people who are immigrants, with first gens, with queer folks, right? So what are we talking about in therapy? We're talking about this all the time. And so it's heavy. And the energy, I think, like my body knew before my mind had agreed to it to say, hey, we got to reserve the energy to show up for the things that you're needed for. Everything else can take a little bit of a pause.
Yeah. Because, you know, I don't think we talk about it enough, in that when we're in low power mode es donde vienen the headaches. Es donde ya se te fue el sueño, right? Like, for some people can't eat. Some people overeat. Hello, me. Entonces, yes, it's kind of like a good red flag, but it's also a place where we're really vulnerable. Yeah.
It makes me think about something that you said about our own ethnic identity too, as helpers, right? Like I think part of being here and having this conversation is that we are human, and we also are trained as therapists, where we have this like ability. I feel like sometimes is my protective factor, is my therapy hat, that is just like, I can think through these things as I'm feeling really heavy. I can still find a way to like sort of walk myself through it. But I think for many of us who are BIPOC, who are queer, who are children of immigrants, or immigrants ourselves, we are also having to show up to do this work while also being hecka triggered. Yes.
The quote that I recently heard by one of the first Chicana psychologists was that our ethnic identity and pride determine the degree to which we want to serve our people. So what does that mean? That means that all of us helpers of color, you know, not just therapists, but like teachers, doctors, lawyers, anyone who's in the helping industry of color, one, we're in deep pain right now, while we're also doing a lot of work.
Yeah.
We're holding it all for our clients, for our families, and holding our own stuff, because it's kind of like that gift and a curse, right? Because we you know, so identify with our you know, ethnicity, our culture, and we're in like with so much pride. That's why we go so hard.
And how do we make space for our humanity too in this? I think that's the call to action, that no matter how healed or how A+ you've done in therapy and how many trainings you've done, at the end of the day, we're people who are experiencing a collective moment of grief, of fear, of anxiety. And maybe unlike other times where like the anxiety is just like, okay, relájate, that's not happening. This anxiety, this worry, these fears are coming up, but they're reasonable for many reasons. And so how do we balance out, right? That we protect ourselves, we keep going, but also we make space to feel the feelings that come along.
Yeah. I know what I've been talking to a lot of my clients about is like the uncertainty, right? And things that we thought were protections for a long time, for a lot of us, are not anymore, or being threatened. Like we're hearing people who do have their documents or are citizens, were born here, like they're also being taken, maybe you know, not on accident, I'm not going to say that, but like, you know, wrongfully. And it's still happening. Trauma is still happening. We are still watching it happen. It is still very traumatizing.
This is trauma. We're watching trauma, we're living trauma, we are in it all together.
And also our nervous systems, our genetics in our body is revisiting trauma.
Oh, yes. Yep.
Because we can't, you know, so some of us, especially people who are naturalized, they're like, but why do I feel it? I know logically, like I was born here, I have my passport, you know, todo esto. Well, why is my body freaking out? It's because on a very like biological cellular level, the body remembers.
Yeah.
Our DNA remembers.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I think it's really important to highlight that, because sometimes we ourselves, we gaslight ourselves, or maybe other people gaslight us. Oh, but you have nothing to worry about, and so, or like, oh, but like, you have lighter skin privilege, right? And 100% yes, and it's still in my DNA.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that is the, I like to think about the work that I do as intergenerational healing, like specialist, right? Because the trauma, I think that we experience, and we know that, for example, resilience factor is like, how did the people around you respond, and how supported did you feel when you experienced trauma? That in itself makes such a huge difference, right? And for many in our community, for many of us, we have been living in trauma with the people that also were supposed to be showing up for us, right? This is not a judgment on our parents or our caregivers, is that they too have been living a lot of trauma. So there is a part of how you're responding to this moment may also be rooted in the lack of knowledge or education or support as to how do you survive this moment, because we saw the people literally surviving and then finding ways to thrive. Like, I think sometimes about like the things that our parents went through, and it's just like, how the heck did you make it? Right. And they didn't slow down. And so you survived the trauma while parenting, while going to work, while doing all these things. And so here we are as the children of a generation that went through so much, right? When we haven't directly experienced and we're having this like, but why am I feeling this way? The possibility that in our family of origin, because of the amounts of trauma and trauma, poverty, trauma, direct personal trauma, immigration trauma, all those things, we may have learned coping mechanisms that were just about pushing through. And so what do we do when you just can't push through? That coping mechanism doesn't work, right? And maybe some people argue there's no way to cope through this. Perhaps, but there are also ways in that we can be in better relationship with our bodies, with the moment, with our relationships, right? That do help with those resilience factors when we're experiencing trauma.
Right. No, absolutely. I mean, oh my God, I'm like having so many like light bulb moments right here. And I'm like, oh, which one do I grab and say? But I also want to point out that, right, like, yes, we watch some of our family members go through stuff, or people in our community. And also, a lot of us are also sitting with like the historical, right, of especially how the US, like imperialism, right, colonization, right, and it's like it's bringing it all that up, and it's like everything that's happened that's also led up to this point.
Yep.
No, I think right now the collective consciousness is raising, right, on a lot of this stuff, for people who haven't experienced some of these things. But I think it's really important, going back to those with marginalized identities, like, we've been there. We've had this consciousness, and that consciousness is a gift, but it's also a curse. Yeah.
I mean, like, you just happen to, it makes me think some of the rhetoric, for example, of like, do it the right way, right? That one has been like such a triggering one for me, because my family experienced a 9-year separation. My parents and I were separated since I was 6 years old till I was like 15. Right. And so it's like doing it the right way. Like, do you understand what does it mean to do it the right way? Like, do you understand what does it mean to send people back and separate families, right? This is like stuff that is sold. And then I go back and it's like, well, si me sacan de aquí para El Salvador de regreso, and look what's happening in El Salvador, and where do I go, right? And like now El Salvador also got there because of the imperialist attacks of the US, and like how that sociopolitical environment was. 100%. So I am activated in a political and intergenerational, ancestral way that I know it doesn't it's not only activating the stuff right now, but the stuff right now, it's almost like I have permission to look back and say, all that stuff that also is related to here. And to me, it both brings me relief, but also it's like, man, like this is a lot.
It's heavy. Yeah. And like, oh, I have a little knot in my throat, like just picturing you at 9 years old experiencing separation, and your nervous system is feeling that. Just want to honor that.
it's really real, and it feels confusing, right? And that's why, like, I really made a decision about wanting to share this part as we have this conversation, because I think that I'm not unique in that my little person, my little Adri in there, is the one that is freaking out, because we know how impactful and how painful that was. And have I done some healing? Have I grown? Have I come to accept it? Absolutely. But in moments with trigger, like, our brain and our heart and nervous system is not acting from like the cognitive part. It's acting from a safety and survival response from a time where, as a little kid, I wasn't equipped to understand this in a better way. And so being hijacked to those times where you couldn't rely on those intellectualizers, the people that like can read the psychology book and be like, I know it's happening to me. What might be happening to you is that this is getting pulled out, and the logic is not saving you, because this stuff is old, and it's from time where it could be pre-verbal, time where you didn't have just the brain development to understand it, to put it into words, and here you are. You know?
Kids they're super resilient, bounce back. And I think that, I think about kids. I mean, I think about like some of the kids in Gaza who are still dancing. Yeah. And like, really savoring those moments of joy.
Finding joy.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they're the epitome of beginner's mind, and just being in it and participating fully with what's in front of them. Yeah. I wanted to like hold space for that too. Something that's really helped me really go back and think about our inner children. I know a lot in therapy. We're like, we have so many layers. We're like an onion, right? I think we're more like a garlic. Because yes, we have so many parts.
I like that.
So many parts. And, Natalie Gutierrez, I have her book here because I've been using it. Oh my God, it's such a great book. But she named, they're not numbered here, but it's probably like 12. I've been using it a lot. 12 different like protector roles, right? And I think it's really cool to see how we have survived. And there's different parts of us. That there's like the strong one, there's the firefighter one, and then there's also like the goody two shoes. That's like, don't make any waves. We have to like assimilate, don't bring any attention. We have the rebellious one that's like, F that. A chingar todo, and when things like these happen, like different parts get activated. Yeah. And so, and really when we're talking about that, like all our parts, they're really just trying to help us survive, like you said. And so we have adopted different beliefs, different thoughts, and different behaviors even, all in the service for trying to survive. And sometimes that was overworking. Sometimes it's like, no me pasa nada, like we're going to keep going. Sometimes it was shutting down. And I think there's no right way. There's no right way to cope. There's just like the way that it's happening. Yeah. And being able to figure out what's going to work, what's going to help us. Kind of like I tell my clients, let's catch it in the air, catch the thought in the air. Like, oh, like that thought just came by. Like, oh, hello, ego. You're a little bit bigger today. Or like, oh, my attachment style is showing, Because
he does sometimes.
Yes, of course. And I like to say, like, we try to look at it with just really some compassionate eyes of like, that's what's happening right now. And what's the best way to kind of meet that part and have a conversation with it? How do we help it feel not safe? Because that's not a thing. Safer. Just a little bit. A little bit. Does that part even trust us? And if not, what can we do? It's usually in actions.
Mm-hmm.
How do I treat my body so that those parts that are activated can feel a little bit better, can start to trust us again?
Yeah. I think as you say that, as this garlic, the pieces, right? I actually really love that. It makes me think about, for me, my process has been just accepting kind of each of those parts as they've been showing up and letting them take the space, not to go destroy, because my angry teenager is pretty pissed off and like she cannot take over. So I'm very aware of that. But there is a validity to the anger, right? And I think each of the parts, if it's showing up, if it is your little 6-year-old, if it is your 10-year-old, if it's your 14-year-old, if it's your 23-year-old, right? There's a reason why that part is showing up. And what I've been talking to some of my clients about is that anxiety gets a bad rap. Like nobody wants to have anxiety, right? But anxiety is our natural alert system that tells us, hey, pay attention, right? When our anxiety takes over and is in the driver's seat, of course, there's going to be like, how do we fix everything all at once? And like everything that is right. Like it gets messy. But as a function, anxiety is a little bit of our ally in telling us, pay attention to this thing, right? And so similarly, those parts, you know, when I felt my critical part, it was just like, y cuando te vas a poner a trabajar, you've been like laying on the couch too long, right? It's like, wait, my part that needs rest just needs space right now. And even if my logic doesn't make sense that it's needed, I want to gently and compassionately respond to it because it's showing up for a reason. Even if I cognitively cannot do it on my own and say, I'm going to go rest, there's a part of me that is like, a nap? I don't nap, but today I felt like taking a nap. There's a part of me in that garlic that is saying, today we need a little bit extra recharge in the middle of the day. And I want to listen. And I think that has been like a learning opportunity for me this summer to be thinking about how do I stay more present with the parts that show up and to give it to the degree that is possible, that's safer, right? That by that responding to it and not avoiding it, shutting it down, or gaslighting that I'm fine.
No, 100%. You know, when I meet a new client, they're like, I just don't want to have anxiety. And I'm like, I'm probably not the therapist for you. Because I don't we cannot take your anxiety away, nor do we want to. And I always say this, I go, you know, girl, if you're walking down a dark alley, I want your anxiety to kick in. And I want you, and because it's going to kick in, it's going to make you run.
Alert. Pay attention.
Yeah. The anxiety right now that people need, it's helping them run away. It's helping them hide. It's, you know, it's helping people pull out their phones and recording. That justified anger is helping people protest. It's helping people call stuff out. It's helping lawyers make those lawsuits. We need it. We need it. And I use the same metaphor about like, I use a bus because I'm like, you know, because there might be way too many parts to be in one little car. So I'm like,
vámonos en el bus.
I say, hey, so you make room for it. You're like, okay, you can come on and take a seat on the bus, but you're not going to drive. You know? So, and I talk to clients about, you know, especially really young parts, don't get to make your adult decisions.
Absolutely. I think that is on the part of, I think in a lot of the work with clients and just like in the current social media sphere, when we're talking about the inner child, doesn't mean that you give the inner child the reins to go run free. Right. There's a difference. We honor the inner child. We recognize the experiences. We tend to it. We respond. But that inner child is not equipped to be in the driver's seat.
Yeah. They'll be having you have ice cream for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
For me, it's mostly my teenager, my teenager with a credit card. It's like, dude, we have money now. Let's have popcorn at the movies for dinner. You know, it's just like, once in a while, that responding to a part is tapping into your childlike, you know, side. But at the end of the day, that part of us, right, especially as it shows up when trauma is activated, when we're triggered, is not the right driver for the bus, for sure. And especially the driver for the me now, for the us in this moment. right? And what we know and the work that we've done and the way that we know how to take care of ourselves now in response to that activation of the younger part.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And, I think it's about being able to find what does that part need? Usually the part does not need control. It usually just needs to, and it needs to be heard. It needs to be looked at like any other child. Like you get down to their level and you're like, tell me what's going on. Okay. Do you need a hug? Do you need some sleep? Do you need some food? Like, what do you need right now?
Yeah.
And really bringing in that tenderness and being good to that part, to yourself, not to avoid difficult feelings, but because you are not well in that moment.
Yeah.
It's the sopita de pollo. It's the sana colita de rana that someone needs when they're not feeling good.
Responding to those parts.
Very respectfully and tenderly. Yeah.
Because there's a reason. There's a valid reason that that's activated. And how do we tend to it? Maybe this is kind of like a moment of taking a pause to those of you who are listening, right? And just kind of make assessment. Take a little pause right now to think about what about this part of the conversation is resonating with you? Like, how are you really? Yeah. Asking yourself that question, asking yourself what parts are showing up, and am I avoiding them? Am I just pushing them away? And is there a way to make space to respond to the needs without them taking over? Because I think that I would hate for this conversation to be heard just again from the intellectualized part of just like, okay, more info. I think right now, pause this and just take a moment to like notice what is happening in your body. Where are you feeling it? Yeah. Is there a time in your life that is kind of popping into your mind as you hear us talk, and thinking about how do you respond to that so that it doesnn stay just an intellect? Yeah. Any thoughts about that for our listeners to do in this moment?
Yeah. When I'm at my best, and really being in the like, oh, this is a moment where I need to be compassionate or just like pause. I put my hand on my heart or on my chest. Like my body needs to feel like skin to skin, right? And this, for me, it activates those compassionate eyes of like, what is happening right now? Something is hard. Whew. Or like, even like, I need to honor like your process, my process. Like, so for me, just like taking a pause and putting my hands on myself. For me, it's my chest, but for you, it might be somewhere else in your body.
I feel like I hug myself like this.
Yeah. Yeah. Or maybe you need to do the thing that suits you, like play with your hair, or even just like sway a little bit from side to side. And if you're noticing anything in your body, any like a different sensation, just like honor that and notice it. Notice that your body is responding to what we're talking about. Maybe this is hitting really close. Maybe we've named some things. And it's okay to be here. Because this, you feeling this, is your humanity. And I would not want to take that away. And really just breathing into it, breathing through it. Is what we have in this moment. Not escaping, but sitting with.
And part of how we've survived is just rushing through things so many times. And this is a reparative moment, potentially of giving yourself an opportunity to show up differently for yourself. Yeah. Because our autopilot is kicking in. And if your autopilot is not having the same results that's before, it's just saying, hey, like we need like a little update, software upgrade.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mentioned I was running. So I used to run half marathons. And I haven't in many years. So I'm like, I feel like a newbie again. But for anyone who's ever run a marathon or long distances, like for me, it's always at the 11-mile mark that I'm like, I can't do this anymore. And I'm in so much pain. And I usually will do like a run walk, run a little bit, walk a little bit, like that is the best for pacing. But then I think at like maybe mile 9, 10, I'm like, a chingarle, like, let's just get through it. And then it's always at mile 11 that I'm like, oh God, this hurts. I want to die. Right. And I'm like, I'm just going to walk it. It actually hurts more to slow down and walk at that point, because different muscles are being activated when you walk than when you run. So I tell that story because I share it with my clients too, that it might also be painful to slow down.
Change the pace. The pace could hurt. Yeah.
That's why a lot of people are like, when there's a death or like something happens and it's like, are you sure you don't want extra time off? No. Let me go back to work because I cannot stand being with myself in these thoughts. Mm-hmm. I'd rather be distracted. Please distract me. Mm-hmm. I know you and I, Adri, we come here with very non-judgmental stance, like do what you got to do. Yeah. And know that perhaps if that's coming up for you, there's a reason for that. And let's look at it with compassionate eyes, and like your autopilot is probably what's the part of your nervous system that's like really just trying to get you through it. And let's trying to avoid some really difficult feelings. Because I know for myself, sometimes I'm like, please do not ask me how I'm doing. Please do not look at me with those eyes. Oh, because I will fall apart. And I cannot, because I am going to see a client in 15 minutes. Yeah. But like we've said, it all does kind of catch up to us. So when you're ready to, or even when you're ready to feel the discomfort of it hurts more to slow down, know that there's a space for you.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think for me that the reason, right, like coming to you, and I was just like, who do I need to talk to that can give me a more balanced view? Because I'm feeling a little lean on this side. And as a Libra, I'm like, wait, hey, me this too. Feels about, are you a Libra too? I did not know that about you. Pero Salvadoreñas and Libras, like this way we vibe. And so I like that off balance feeling is so uncomfortable. And I know that it is powerful to say, oh, my therapist or this therapist that I like respect, that I see is also going through like something human. And so the hope is that mindfulness is about paying attention in the moment, but the one part that we forget is about non-judgmentally paying attention in the moment. I am hoping that this conversation, maybe it is a call to action, right? Like a call to action, but the invitation is to do it with compassion and non-judgment, because we have to be running a marathon right now. There's no clear ending to when some sense of stability, and maybe even the illusion of the sense of stability that we used to have. And now it's like, well, that was not true. Uh-huh. And so how do you become more responsive with non-judgment, with compassion? And how do we practice grounding ourselves when the ground shifts? Because I think that is like the part of the frustration too, of just like, this used to work. This is how I used to take care of myself. Or this meds that I've been taking for 10 years, like they're no longer working, right? Like what's going on? And it is the conversation of just like, the world's changing and so are you. And the things that you may need just may be different. And so if they're not working, it's not a place to go potentially into more frustration that there's not working. Just like pit stop to see what needs some fine tuning. I was reading this article about uncertainty and doom scrolling, right? And I think there's also about a talk in this talk, there is space to talk about boundaries and how they are showing up right now, because we have more access to information than ever before. And, I've been over the last 2 years, watching what's been happening in Gaza, and then hearing about what's happening in LA with the fires, and then what's happening with the raids, and what's happening here and what's happening there, right? And my boundaries with social media and with electronics have had to also shift this summer. And I've noticed that I'm not going to my phone as a place for respite. And, I have my funny dog videos and stuff and like all these things that I can still bring me a lot of joy. But the thing about it, at least, for example, TikTok or Instagram and things like that, is that you don't know what you're going to scroll to next. There's like a little, you're scrolling. And so when we're facing uncertainty, our brain is looking for certainty. And there's a way that the information in our phones does tell us what's happening, which in itself, it's like, I know for certain that the world kind of sucks because I see it on my phone. But there's a way to that we have to find a balance. I think I know for me has been necessary this summer to find a balance of being in relationship with how am I exposing myself to things that are triggering my nervous system, because my nervous system has a limited amount of energy that I also want to manage through the day in a safe way. Right. So any thoughts about this managing of uncertainty from what you've seen, or how you're managing that for yourself? Because I know that I've had to put my phone down a lot this summer.
Yeah. Oof. That's definitely a hard one, especially because we all rely so much on technology, I'm like, oh, good for you. I am not there yet. And mine are baby hedgehog videos.
Oh my God. I'm in capybara talk and K-pop demon hunters. This is my saving grace.
Yeah. But you're right. No, you're right that we can't control the algorithm. Right. And so I know we can try as much as possible to follow certain things, but we're still going to be exposed to a lot of stuff. For me, how to ground when the ground is shifting. It's like shifting with, right? Shifting with, and it's really going to depend, right? Like for me, the biggest thing that I've been really being more intentional, very mindful when I participate, is when I take in art. Whether I'm at a concert or I'm listening to music or binging on Netflix, binging on art.
You know what? Media comes in all kinds.
No, and really, I go down into the gratitude, wow, they put this set together, or like the brain that put these costumes together, that created this story, that made this song, that, I've been really in awe of the human brain and the creatives and all the talents that are out there. And for me, that's what's been helping me ground. And it includes our five senses, right? Like I'm seeing things, I'm hearing things, I'm tasting. Because I also see, food is art, and what are the other ones? Hearing, seeing, tasting,
sensing, tasting, smelling,
touching.
Touching.
Oh my God, touching. Actually, my husband and I have been more intentional about just being next to each other and laying there, not needing to I have been needing, I've been telling him, you want to come lay with me? And it's 7 p.m. Right? He's like, are you going to go to bed? I'm like, no, I just want to lay. And it reminds me of us as human beings, babies, they need that touch, right? Well, we do too.
Yeah, we do.
We do too. And so finding ways to kind of incorporate all of that, with how your body receives it, right? Maybe I know some people that are please don't touch me, right? But maybe for them it's gonna be the big stuffed animals, or the cobija that their grandma made them, or their animalitos.
Yeah, right? I know. I was thinking about how I like to put my dogs just feeling them. They're just soft.
And it's connection. And it's connection. And our nervous system is also wired for connection. And it helps pull us out of that dorsal vagal. It's going to help. Think about it. We're talking about the battery on the phone. Think about it like you're charging the phone, and it's boop, 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 giving you a little bit more energy, more battery.
Yeah.
And really holding on to to those glimmers, like the little things that light your body up that you're like, oh my God, that was so cute. I was actually just thinking about this on my run, that I'm like, I love that. Well, like I've been looking at flowers when I go running, and I'm like, ay, mira qué cosita tan hermosa. Hits different than, oh, how cute.
Yeah.
Right? So whenever you have this, like, ay, mira qué cosita tan hermosa moment, like, feel it, dive into it, savor it, saborealo. Bask in it. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure if you've read the book Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And so, he was a psychiatrist in the concentration camps, and he talked about that, this concept too of like finding that meaning and a little bit of like joy. And for those people who were in the concentration camps, those who really savored, like we're talking about savoring these glimmers, like this is like the one thing I remember from the book. Like a little plant or a little like something growing out of the concrete in freaking Auschwitz. People who were, it would be like, oh my God, mira qué cosa tan bonita.
Mm-hmm.
It tended to have a longer lifespan.
Yeah.
At the concentration camps.
Yeah.
And so we're talking about like, can we allow ourselves permission to feel joy during this time? Yes, you need to. In fact, that's the only thing that's going to get us through it.
Mm-hmm.
Is joy, is singing, art, dancing, cooking, not me, but for some people, cleaning.
Yeah. But what you're talking about is like having almost like a flexibility, openness, like a menu of different ways to tend to yourself. I know, like for me, a saving guard this summer is just like music and dancing.
Yeah.
And man, like I've just have been enjoying like moving my body and in a way that just like feels the music and it is in tune with the music. And granted, I did get to see Beyonce and Backstreet Boys, so I like it was good music, I feel like it's good music. But I remember like this moment when I was actually at both of the concerts where like I got really emotional because and it wasn't like because the concert was emotional or like, but it was like the moment of sharing. And like I would say, if I could encapsulate a feeling, would be like that moment when you're singing with like 10,000 people at the same time and everybody's vibing because the energy is just like
it's connection.
It lifts you off and it just feels so amazing. Like that's the pill that I want. Like give me that feeling over and over. And so when
the
you're
Beyonce pill,
like girl, I was crying. Like I was just like, oh my God, I can't believe it. This is so amazing. Because there is this moment of being in community with others, right? And granted, there's a lot of privilege and this experience that I just shared of having gone to these 2 things this summer. But we can do this in our homes every day in little ways, because también cuando regresé de mis viajes, right, like I was on vacation, my plants had grown new like little leaves, and I like literally came back and I was like, mis plantas crecieron, because even though we weren't home and we weren't like pouring love into them like the way that we do, but it made me so happy to see that my plants were okay. And so from the big highs of highs in the summer to also like the tiny things that like my dogs, my nieces, my, dancing to K-pop Demon Hunters with like the girls and being like singing to Golden, like there's so many little ways that we can access this joy and this like reset. Yeah. Because if we're waiting always to the big thing, we're always waiting to the vacation. We're waiting for like in 2 months, I'm going to go do this fun thing. Yeah. That 2 months, you're going to potentially miss out on a bunch of little opportunities to refill the cup and just to replug in the phone, right, for a little bit. And so an encouragement that the big things matter, but also the tiny little things, la plantita growing in the concrete and the awe of being able to witness that flower.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And, there's a study done on stress, and I'll give try to do it justice, but like they had some people go to this resort, right? And the control group, the group that was not getting the intervention, they got the free stay for a week at the resort, and that's it. They got to enjoy the resort. The other group, the experimental group, they got to stay at the resort, but they had to attend mindfulness classes while they were at the resort from 9 to 4, let's say, right? when they all got there, they took cortisol levels, stress levels. When they got there, stress levels at the end of the week, everyone's stress level had gone down, right? A year later, or whenever they did the follow-up, the people that got the mindfulness training, their cortisol levels were lower than the one who just was able to go to the resort for the week. And so it tells us that the one time a week vacation is not going to do it, right? It's going to be in the little ways every day that you savor, that you do the things, that you take care of your body, that you experience joy. Yeah. And like intentionally, like sit in it, you know? So yeah, it reminded me of that, because you're right. A lot of us were like, oh, my 1 week break, like that doesn't do anything. Like for me, I actually need to take a 2-week break, because a 2-week vacation, because it takes my brain about a week to realize it's on vacation. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Remember, I'm the person that like it hurts more to slow down. Yeah. So like I'm like I a week is not going to do anything. Uh-huh. Like my mother-in-law says, ni me llena una muela, you know.
Literally. Yeah. And it's like finding those like little glimmers of joy and hope in that every day. And so no action towards that sense of well-being, that sense of joy, that sense of happy is ever too small. And I think we got to remember that. Yeah.
And you know what I was going to say when you said, you know, not everybody can go to Beyonce and have that feeling that you felt, right? But I had a thought of like, for me lately, what's been helping to light me up, like every time I see like, the ACLU is suing for and they won, right? Like that, I get that feeling, because I do picture all of us helpers at the stadium fighting for all the things. And I'm not a lawyer, nor do I want to be, you know, but I'm like, thank you. Like, no los conozco, but thank you. Chirla, you know, who's doing so much boots on the ground work, legal, really important work. I'm like, thank you. You are a part of my tribe. You are a part of the movement. I do not have to carry this alone. When I'm on vacation, you guys are holding it down.
Saying that made me feel like the picture of all of us helpers, all the good people, all the people that care and are doing their little part, all in a stadium vibing together to the wins. Oh, like that's sitting. I can feel it in my body.
It's happening. It is happening. People are putting the work in. So, you know, for a lot of people who are feeling hopeless, and I know, because I've been there. I wake up some days and I'm like, oh, you know, hopelessness is not an option right now. And if you can't find hope because it happened, we're human. And if you need a reminder of humanity, think about that stadium of helpers. Look to see who's winning those court cases, which judges are like, absolutely not, you're not going to do that, right? Every time there's a small win, big teams were behind that. So when you need a reminder of humanity, please look to the helpers.
Yeah. And the people showing up, like the other thought that comes is all the people in Gaza with the pain. I mean, we can't even imagine what they're experiencing, and every day they're getting up, and we got to as well. Yeah. And that hopelessness, if you cannot find hope, then also there's support available, whether it's in your community, your family, your friends, therapy, right? In whatever way that you can. Because I felt that this week when I reached out to you, I was like, I'm having a little bit of a hard time accessing that hopeful part of me. And so who do we turn to? Because there is people out there doing really good work, and not good work because they're therapists and they're this and they have degrees. It's like because they're showing up to life.
Oh yeah. Like the people that are, you know, on the street that are pulling out their phones and recording, badass, brave right there. Thank you. I needed someone to be on the streets when that happened. Thank you. Hell yeah, you caught that on video. That's brave.
Yeah. Yeah.
And being brave doesn't mean there's no fear. Being brave is doing the thing even when there's fear.
Yes. Yeah. Amen to that. Something else that stuck from my conversation when we talked the other day is that you were talking about sleep and dreaming, right? And so we're talking about our basic needs, right? Also right now, maybe you're not drinking as much water. ¿Dónde está tu botita de agua? Un traguito,
Let's do it. Take a water break right now.
Take a water break, drink your agüita. If it is 2 p.m. right now when you're listening, if it's 8 p.m., when was the last time that you ate?
Yeah.
When was the last time they had a little snack, right? How are you nourishing your body? How you stretch? Yeah. You've been working all day. Right now, there is no price for you pushing through and working your body. Right now, that Audre Lorde quote of like self-care is not self-indulgent is an act of political warfare, because right now our bodies and our personhood is being said in large stages is not worth of dignity. So we have to give ourselves dignity, and it starts with taking care of ourselves in the tiny ways. And so food, sleep, eating, but I want you to talk about the part of like, if we don't sleep, we don't get to dream, because that was really impactful to me.
Yeah. And this is like my story. Like, I was doom scrolling one day and I saw something related to like, oh, and make your dreams come true. Like, what are your dreams? What do you dream of? Like, what are you manifesting? And I had this like, moment, like very much like dreams. I'm not even trying to dream right now. Girl, I need to sleep first. Because we all know that just because you close your eyes and go to sleep, it doesn't mean you're dreaming. Like, it actually, you have to be sleeping for a while until you can access the dream part of the brain. Just a little, brain science there. And it was very much like a resentful kind of like response. Like, must be nice if you can dream. I can't even freaking sleep. And I realized, like, if we don't sleep, we're not dreaming. So I was like, one, girl, you need some sleep. Two, usually when you have like a resentful response like that, it's like bordering burnout and like must be nice, right? And it made me realize how if we're not sleeping and taking care of ourselves, like surviving is one thing, but it's not thriving. Mm-hmm. Surviving is like white knuckling it, and that hurts. Mm-hmm. Thriving is moving through these things despite the stuff that's happening, despite the pain, finding reasons for living. I work with the people who are suffering so much, and sometimes it's a struggle to even like list some things. And so that's some of the work that I do. When you're in that like 5% and trying to pull out a list of like reasons for living. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it has to start with just taking care of our basic needs. And we can't get there if we're not taking care of our basic needs. We can't dream. We can't dream up new businesses. We can't dream up joyful work. We can't like mutual aid, like creativity, right? I think about, in a lot of like war-torn countries, and there's a lot of poverty and a lot of people, you can tell when there's not a lot of art happening. And that to me, that's one of the really heartbreaking things, because it's like their spirit, that's taken their spirit.
Yeah. We need to be our basics. And I think this is where like also like that conversation of privilege, right? Like that rest, slowing down, showing up in this like just like really pampered ways, go get a massage and go do these things, right? Like that idea of self-care. Like there's a lot of privilege in being able to do these things, because when you are struggling just to put food on the table, when you do not feel safe to go outside, when you cannot be employed because you're afraid of somebody coming and getting you, right? Like this, the rest is going to look very different. Ease is going to look very different. Tending to your body and your needs is going to look very different. Thriving is going to look very different. Yeah. But it is possible in tiny and big ways, as you have the ability, the resources, the support, and living in community too. But then maybe this is a time where you don't have resources, but the mutual aid, maybe somebody else does. And who are you reaching out to say, hey, do we want to do a puzzle exchange? Because I've done all my puzzles already. Like, you want my puzzle? Let me take yours.
Yeah.
I have a set of Legos. I have some coloring books, right? Like, this is also like a time to just kind of be resourceful in the way that we are creating. Create and receive. Yeah.
Sometimes that is the self-care, is asking for help or taking help. A lot of my clients are like so hard at asking for help. I don't know about you, Adri, but is it easy for you to ask for help?
Nowadays, a little bit better. I think I'm like in recovery from that.
Yeah, me too. I'm like, I can do it myself, you know. But so when people have a hard time asking for help, what I say, a way to ease our way into it is, okay, receive it when someone offers it. You know, like my mom, you know, does not have a lot of money, and she'll be like, te doy un mango para la niña. And to me, that's like gold, because mangoes are expensive, one. But somehow my mom always has mangoes, always. I'm like, sí. Te corto unos limones del palo. Okay, también. Lemons are expensive. So it's about saying yes and receiving. And sometimes that is the self-care. And how we restore our sense of humanity, right? Like, dang, like I just got all these puzzles for free.
Yeah. Un libro, you know, like your art supplies that you're not using, like, can you share them with someone?
Yeah. My father-in-law siempre me manda lentils. He loves lentils. So I always have hella lentils on hand, but I'm like, thank you. I don't have to run to the store, to the market to buy it. And you know what when you go, you're not just going to buy the lentils, you're going to buy a bunch of stuff, and that helps. All of it helps.
It comes to mind then the thought of just like hearing your mom with the mango, your father-in-law with the lentils. It's like, what do you have to give in this moment? Because maybe you're not at the protest, maybe you're not doing the letters, maybe you're not doing this thing, right? But what can you do? What can you do? Because the part of being in community is also about remembering the interconnectedness that we have with those that we know and those that we don't know, but that are still impacted by our actions and by our giving. Because si tu suegro te da las lentils, and then now you don't have to worry about going to the market to make that meal, and you make that meal much faster because you have it, then someone else benefits from you then now having this freedom, whether it's your daughter, your spouse, your clients, your coworkers, right? So there is like a power in this also trickling down, and why I think mutual aid right now is such at the center of how we are going to be surviving. It is by taking care of one another. I know that, you know, a few days ago when they brought the case about queer gay marriage and LGBT rights to court, like I posted, and I was devastated in that moment as a queer person, thinking about my queer family, my trans siblings, right? And my community just showered me with so many words, and I just felt lifted, and I was like, okay, I'm not alone. I'm not alone. We're not alone. And then I was like, and I'm going to show up this hard for everybody else too, right? And so there's this like way in that when we give, we can give, then that person that receives can give to others, and that person that gives and gives to others. And so no act is too small also in terms of generosity and help. And so, you know, find a way to help others too.
Even if it's just like sharing the receta, you know, like sharing the way you make the albondiga soup, that you know, and maybe you don't have much to give, but you know you're supposed to put, you know, egg in that, or you know and it's everyone has something to give, right? Because you're gonna have those albondigas, and you're gonna be like, damn, this is good. And then you're going to savor and enjoy and be like, man, I just made some bomb albondigas. Thank you to Doña, you know, so-and-so for sharing her secret recipe with me.
Yeah. I love this. Thank you so much, Sofia. I'm feeling so good. Like, since our conversation that we had a couple of days ago and prepping for this, I was just like, okay, I need to get out of this rant. who do I need? What do I need? And I'm just so thankful for your generosity, because I am going to be releasing season 2. Like, my confidence again is back in terms of how does this fit in the moment that we're living. And the thing about the stories of Entre Tías y Amiguis that our guests shared this season are about resilience and about surviving and about thriving and about living and challenging the system that just looks a little bit different right now, a lot different. And it's the pain may be showing up differently, but ultimately the guests of this season, what they remind me of is that these struggles, one, are not new. We've been dealing with them and surviving them and being together in them. But the story of just like, we're not alone. You two are wondering the same things, and you two are fighting for the same things, and that togetherness. And I wanted to have an opportunity, though, to name the moment, because it is not coming blindly into like, let's just talk about joy and like with the things and like the people that made it. We also have to talk about this other part that is not as easy to carry right now, and that it's okay if it doesn't feel good to carry. And it's not optimism that fixes it or that makes it go away. It's a balance out of recognizing that some parts need attention, and also that we have the proof that we have made it, and somehow, some way we will again, and that success and wins right now are going to look a lot different than maybe we expected, but that we got to keep going forward. And I know I needed that reminder, and I'm so thankful that you let me just kind of like pour into you, and that you were so willing and gracious to give back, and dame tus lentejas de regreso, because like now I can go make soup again.
Yeah. And I have to say, like, I think one of the reasons why I felt so like, let's do it. I'm at the tail end of my 2-week vacation. So I've been taking care of myself. I've been sleeping in. I've been going on my runs and my walks. And I feel like, yes, this is a really difficult topic. And, you know, like the work that I do is always centered around this racial trauma. And no es que es fácil. It's just that it's an easier download because I talk about it all the time.
Pues si también estás escribiendo tu libro, you know, you're writing your book. So like you also have this other part showing up in this moment with all of your power ready and available.
Yes. And like I've been able to, because I have been on vacation for a few, you know. And so I think it's kind of crazy how in alignment, like you and I were, like you came in right as I'm like feeling a little bit replenished and rejuvenated and like, let's do it. You know, I think sometimes the most powerful thing too that we can offer somebody else is being able to sit there and witness their struggle without judgment.
Yeah.
You know,
and you did that for me. And I really appreciate it.
And you do it for so many too. And don't get it twisted. I mean, I might be calling you up in a month.
Girl, anytime. And if we just need to hit record, because if somebody else going to benefit from it, we're going to do it again. Because I also have to say, I need to bring you in like as a full guest, because y'all, Sofia is so dope, so amazing. Like, she's writing a book. She has other books that she's written. I'm going to be putting all the links, but we're also going to have you as a official guest, because I want to share the work that you're doing as well. And I think today we got to see you in action, you know, and like this is like comadreando pero con terapia, because this is what we talk about anyway, just because of the work that we do. But you're giving so much to so many, and I'm glad that you're taking your little 2 weeks to rest and replenish, because you've been giving, girl. You've been giving.
Yeah, I went hard, and I'm still not done with my vacation. I have a little solo retreat coming up in the mountains. I'm going to leave tomorrow morning for like 2-3 days. Solita. I'm going to do some writing. I'm going to do some hiking. I'm going to, you know, be with Mother Nature and binge on art.
I'm with you.
So send me your recs.
I shall. I'm going to. It's like, there's, you know, my little Netflix library.
Yeah.
But thank you so much. And so to all of you that stayed with us in this conversation, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for your support, for checking in on me. Like, where's season 2 coming? Because I know y'all are excited. And we also need that break of just like, we know what's going on in the world. We name it. We take care of ourselves. And also there's all these other parts of us that still get to exist and thrive and be in joy and relax and also
feel things.
All the things. So thank you for being here with us. Season 2 is about to release just right after this. And I have so many amazing guests and Entre Tías y Amiguis, otra conversación aquí, Comadreo con Terapia. So thank you so much. I appreciate you. And let me know how this conversation resonated. And I'll be putting all the links for Sofia so you can get in touch with her. And thank you so much for your support and for everything that you're doing to take care of yourself, to take care of others, because we too are part of the collective that we care about so much. So gotta pour in. Plug the iPhone on. So thank you. And thank you, Sofia. We'll see you later. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, leave a review, and share with your tías and amiguis. Your support helps us reach more people and continue these important conversations. And don't forget to follow us on social media and stay connected. Until next time, remember to take care of yourself, embrace your journey, and keep living life with heart, vision, and creativity.